Hey, it's Andrew Leggett from Rams Home Loans, and I'm here with John McGregor from 414 Property Co, and we're here to invite you to our investment seminar.
We're really excited to put this on. We've been getting a lot of questions about the changing market, so what we're going to be doing is focusing on the bigger picture, how to invest and make decisions with your head and not your heart, and whether or not it's your first investment or your 10th, how to structure your loans to ensure that you maximise your profits over the long term.
So make sure you come along on the 30th of August at 5:30pm at Brewlab.
Going once, going twice, sold! You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I am your host, Aaron Horn, and it gives me great pleasure to be back at the desk with my two boys, where the boys are back in town. It's Paddy Berry and John McGregor. Welcome back, team.
Gentlemen, excited to be back. I feel like it's been forever since I've been sitting in this seat.
It's been a red hot minute. Yeah, I think at the end of last episode, I even said, like, maybe I won't be here next week. Like, it's just been this rotational roster of anything could happen. And we're actually recording on a non-record day just because you won't be here tomorrow if it was a real day.
It's been like well over a month and I was starting to feel I might be replaced. So instead of being replaced, I thought I'd convince you two to come in and not have an episode prepared and just talk shit.
Yeah.
I'm always down for that, baby.
How's life, gentlemen? How's life?
So, well, give us a rundown why you won't be here. We'd always love hearing about the things that are happening in your life outside of real estate, even though it's a real estate podcast. Hit us with...
Heading to Alice Springs tomorrow.
Alice Springs. Be warmer than where we are at the moment.
Only just. I was really excited thinking I was going up to, 35-degree heat and, really lovely weather. Apparently it's -1 overnight. It's only getting to about 17 each day we're there. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Mate, you used to be wearing a short, so
yeah.
fine.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're heading up for BMX racing.
I was going to say, what brings you to Alice Springs in the middle of the year?
My boy Parker is racing round 4 and 5 of the national cup. So we're heading up there.
That's awesome.
Should be fun, but being the fact that you can only get to Alice Springs every second day means that we need to leave tomorrow to be able to race there on the weekend.
Okay, yeah. So you've got to kind of, really plan out your venture to get there. Are there many other people from Tassie heading over?
I think there's about 15 or 16 people heading over. It'll be the biggest group of Tasmanians that we've had at a national event. So,
Oh, really? That's great.
which is really funny because it's the most remote / hardest one to get all year, and that's the one everyone chose to go to.
Just because Tasmanians are hardcore.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, so you could have gone, to Adelaide where it's nice and easy, or Brisbane where it was quite easy to get to. But everyone from Tassie chose to go to Alice Springs.
So I suppose you're pulling apart the bikes in pieces and shipping across, then putting them back together. Is that the deal?
Yeah, so that's what I did last night. So packed them all up. They're actually in the bags out in the front of the office at the moment, ready to go on the plane. So it's not too bad. It takes us about 20, 30 minutes per bike to pack them down, get them in the bag, and then same to put them together. So
I like the idea. Like, Parker's got a manager. He's got his roadies crew and everything.
Yep.
Walks around like a rock star.
Yeah, he's like, I'm off to bed, Dad, and I get to spend all night
Cleaning
the bikes and pulling them apart. So that's fun.
Nice. I'm just thinking, as you're mentioning the biggest contingent of Tasmanian riders heading over for the event, is that a sign that the sport's growing, or I've got a way that we can bring this around to property? What's happening with the sport here in Hobart and in Tassie?
Yeah, I think the sport is slowly growing. I think the fact that it's been part of the Olympics for a few years now has definitely created some interest.
Yep.
I think that BMX in general has become more popular after Logan Martin won the freestyle competition in the Olympics last year.
Yep.
Obviously different to what we do with racing, but it all gets kids onto bikes. And, with our club, we start racing at 2 years old. So some of those parents that have decided to get their kids onto bikes normally start with us.
It's the coolest little thing to see them. They put them at the top of the hill. They're ready to go, and they're just sitting there.
Tiny little
just let your little legs go.
And so I think then they learn the basic skills from us, and then they progress into different areas. So yeah, it's been good. Definitely a growing sport. Never going to be the size of football or any of the mainstream sports, but yeah, it's definitely getting a bit of a reputation for being popular.
Well, no, it's just interesting that, as you say, Olympics and kind of, that exposure to a mainstream audience kind of, builds the sport. I know that there's some changes we've mentioned on the podcast before, but the facilities here in Hobart are changing.
Yeah, so we're halfway through potentially moving to Sorell. So they're putting a new track together for us. So we'll be leaving our home here in Berriedale and heading over to Sorell for a brand new state-of-the-art facility, which should be good, in Pembroke Park, which is going to be exciting as well because that's where all the other sporting things are. So it's going to be a nice little touch.
That's insane too, because then that little pocket would be one of the most sort of condensed areas in the southern Tas for multiple different grounds of sport.
Yeah, well, you've got football, you've got netball, indoor basketball stadium, skate park. I think there's a soccer oval there as well.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just got this massive mix of all different sports in the one location.
100%.
Okay, so this is where I thought we can spin this into an episode. So this Sorell harbour of kind of bringing all this sport and all this community to the area has got to be good for the growth of that area, surely. That's got to be something that says, hey, come here, I guess the urban sprawl spread to there.
Yeah.
The bypass through the airport is another thing that's making it easier for people to get to and from that area.
Yeah, definitely. They've just obviously improved the airport highway. They've improved the Midway Point connection there where you come across the causeway.
Yeah.
They've just bypassed Sorell completely if you're heading down to Dodges Ferry, Port Arthur. So they've done a lot of work on roads down through that area. And one can only assume it's because that area is growing so rapidly.
One of the we're helping clients currently with a house at Dodges Ferry who are moving because they have to move because of family, not because they want to.
Yep.
And when I was chatting to them, this seems to be a common story, is that no one actually seems to want to leave, like go further than Sorell unless they really have to. So, if they're in Dodges, you spend your weekends at Dodges. It becomes those, regional towns we'll just use that, where, you spend your weekend with barbecues and family and friends and you travel locally and you do outdoor elements. It's not like you're in the town to party.
Yeah, so, I guess it's that idea of, you're heading into the city kind of thing, like, it's going to cost me so much for an Uber back. If I have one too many drinks, it's going to be. So, let's make it our little hub here. I was even at a baby sensory class last week. Here we go. This is a baby sensory class. So
Yep.
Basically took our 7-month-old or took my 7-month-old to this class, and there was all these mums there. There was 2 other dads. But, you just do little things with your little man to stimulate him and let him. But this lady there had moved over from Sydney, and her husband had lived in Kingston back in the day, and now they've moved to Lindisfarne, and he's just like, she said, you're turning back into a Tasmanian because you don't want to travel to Kingston because it's that much too far down the outlet.
Why would we?
And I was like, oh man, like I love Kingston, but I never go down there. Like that's like going to Launceston. Like it's like, I'll never do it. And she's just like, me coming here today, like I'd be stuck in an hour and a half traffic to get to this 30-minute sensory class if I was in Sydney. Here, like, I literally left the house 5 minutes ago and now I'm here.
Halfway across, yeah.
But it's the same with Sorell. It's really not that far away. Like there's ways to get there, but it's, definitely this mindset of like, oh no, I'm not leaving that place.
Well, that's the thing. All the mindsets are the exact same. So it's the same with the people who live down in Kingston. It's the same with the people who live in the northern suburbs. Same for Brighton. Everyone's got the same sort of mentality in that sense. But every time now these municipalities are growing to a much larger extent. And, we'll just go back to the Dodges Ferry example that used to be much just old shacks. Whereas, the house that we were appraising for our clients, like that was an old shack now converted into like an insane
mansion,
really cool home.
Yeah.
And he had a big bar out the back and a second attached living area. And, it was amazing. And, that's sort of the difference now where those areas have been transformed into their permanent residency rather than just,
There's also been a huge take up of people from New South Wales moving to Dodges Ferry because they still want to recreate that beach lifestyle that comes with sort of Dodges Ferry.
Yeah, of course. You're on the coast and you're still living that kind of,
Yeah, so there's been a huge amount of people relocate from Queensland and New South Wales to that area for that reason. They can still enjoy the weekend walks on the beach.
Yeah.
They're brave enough to go surfing, I guess. They can go swimming as well. But it's just a really big community of people that love being outdoors down that way.
What was interesting for me when our clients are moving to Toowoomba, and obviously, in the Hobart market, we've seen definitely a change in your investors moving away from just buying the one bedroom house. Probably a perception that there's going to be a long time before you see larger capital gains over significant growth like we've had. So they might be seeking more fast growth areas now.
Yep.
And I just went, oh, that's cool. I'll just I'll reach out to a couple of colleagues out in the out in that area that we're familiar with and just sort of those regional areas, and every single house was under contract. You know, there was maybe one that I could see just scrolling through the pages and pages with Toowoomba Central and surrounds, and everything was under contract. And then I looked at the value proposition versus Hobart to Toowoomba, and, you know, Glenorchy, you know, here being 550 to 600, they were still like 420. And so all of a sudden people we've looked at Hobart, you know, and Glenorchy, and now looking to those regional centres and going, holy moly.
So this is kind of that, Simon Presley from Property Lodge. Actually, I think he sent out an email just this morning saying is Queensland worth looking into?
Looking back into, yeah. Well, and then I went, well, I put his hat on for what he taught us. I went, hang on a minute. All right.
He gave you a hat?
I borrowed it.
He's going to ask for a backup to this episode, I reckon.
But then I went, okay, what were the big things? You know, jobs, education, hospitals, that kind of stuff. And like right in that centre, like it ticked all those boxes.
Yep.
And jeebus, you know, like that's
Jeepers.
Jinkies. So I've been trying to get myself out of swearing, but now I'm sort of strange words are coming out of this mouth.
It's like you're part of Scooby-Doo.
I love that show, still do. Watch the Boo Brothers if ever you do it. That's the best. That was the best Scooby-Doo film as far as I'm concerned. The Boo Brothers. Anyway, back to Toowoomba.
Pat got deep on Scooby-Doo a few years back.
Still am.
Yeah. So and then I went, holy moly, these guys are going to have a value-wise will do really well for them here. But I think they're going to be moving into a market where it's going to be really challenging to buy.
Yep.
Because obviously they're in that multiple offer situation because everything's just moving so fast.
So almost like a shifting trend from what's been happening here to they might be finding that in their marketplace while this marketplace corrects into kind of what's happening here. So
absolutely,
it's that fluidity of the space and where it's at.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that on camera. Oh shit! Now I did it. Now he's going to catch me out.
But man,
watch the socials.
It's surreal, like at the moment, like for us here, just how much difference the negotiating landscape has been over the last 6 months. And even when I got back from the Philippines after that May period, in the last 3 to 4, everything is certainly returning to that. I was watching some different opinions of agents across the world, actually. Makes me sound more intelligent than I am, but it was, quite simple. But one thing that seems to be quite true is it's moving back into the market where people are buying and selling because they have to, not because they feel like they have to buy. Which is, what would normally happen in a real estate cycle, like you're upsizing, downsizing, your family grows, you need to move for family reasons, etc. But it's also meant that a lot of these deals for us have been taking, a lot longer, and it's got a lot more challenging to work in this industry, which is really exciting.
Yeah. So I guess like looking from the outside, like the boots on the ground, kind of, it feels like there's a bunch more phone calls being made, not like phone calls coming in. Saying like, I need to know about this property straight away. It's like I'm making the calls to be like, hey, I think I've got this property that you'd be interested in. Reaching out to the buyers that you have in your database, kind of, it does seem like, the workload is changing just from an optical, like how are you finding it out there?
One of the ones I liked was Sam in her office in terms of just some interesting experiences where actually this it's a little bit off topic, I guess, but Eddie's open.
Is it ever on topic with you, John?
It just got me because the poor guy, he's in one of those situations where the owners are interstate and the house is basically left abandoned for the most part, aside from young people living in it. And
what are you saying about young people?
I'm not calling it what it was. I used to be one. I was. We'll just keep going. But he had an open home where that cleaned it up, but the guys that were living there purposely went out of their way to trash the place and throw obstacles in the driveway to prevent him and the buyers from actually getting up into the property.
Yeah, wow.
And so he got there about 45 minutes, half an hour early, and he's sitting there slowly clearing the driveway to actually get people to be able to move up into the property. In the meantime, the buyers are getting angry at him, saying, "How come you're not doing this? What I have to wait." It's like, guys, wouldn't you think that actually if I was a buyer, I'd be thinking, oh my God, look at this agent getting up here really, really early to clear the site in order to be able to make this happen for people.
Yeah.
There's still those that are looking at it going, oh my God, you're doing a terrible job.
While he's got 2 other open homes to get to on that day and like racing from point A to point B to be like, I hope I can get these set up in time.
Yeah, exactly,
very interesting.
Exactly. But even then, we had 4 contracts, Pat, that you were able to help move together because all of their prices had to adjust to basically pull it all together.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to get interesting now moving forward is that it's not sold until the sold sticker goes up. So the offer that we sign off on the table, sometimes we may have to do some creative work. And recently we had 4 deals that are all relying on one property selling and we couldn't quite get that property where it needed to be. But simple solution was that we went and spoke to all the other owners and spoke about a $5,000 reduction on each of the others, and that made up the difference on the very last property to get everyone sold. And, everyone was more than happy to do it because it got the job done. But I think this is where agents have to get a little bit more creative in this marketplace to get deals together.
So this is another thing I've been listening in on phone calls is kind of this idea of the price adjustment and then kind of the discussion on how that goes. I've just heard while overhearing people talking on the phone, kind of this idea of, we've set the price at offers over 500, for example.
Yep.
It's not getting the interest that we want. Now to kind of put a little fire under the belly of the listing, we've got to drop it back down to, offers over 480.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
So, yeah, do you want to lead off from here? Because it's obviously an interesting conversation to say, like, I want to put the price down, but it doesn't mean we're going to sell it for less.
Yeah, like Cranes Road's a great example of that.
Yep.
We had that on the market, did a price reduction on that, had it at 630,000, couldn't get it done.
Yep.
No one was really, people were looking at it, but no one was coming back for second looks. No one was ringing up wanting to make offers. We're chasing people and they're like, it's not for us. So we made the decision with the owners to drop it to offers over 589. So quite a large drop in this marketplace. But from doing that, we went probably, I reckon about 100% increase in inquiries, like it just went berserk.
Yeah.
And then from there, we ended up with 3 offers and ended up with the final offer being $632,000.
Unreal, isn't it?
And all it was that at 630, people in their head were thinking, because they're so used to this market, they're going to want
Conditions,
650, 700 for it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until we got it to the value where people were like, this is a great deal.
Yep.
Like, I want this home. We created that sense of urgency. We created that competition, and we ended up with 3 people all battling it out, wanting to secure the home.
And then happy to go pay the price which at the original asking. Yeah, which is surreal. And I remember, going back maybe 2015, 2016, there was a block of land we had in Leonard Valley Road, and it was listed at 165. So this is the point where we're using fixed asking prices, so not necessarily offers over at the time.
Yep.
So zero interest. We, with the owner, they gave us permission to advertise it at 155, and then we ended up at 173. Because all of a sudden it was just hit that sweet spot in people's psychology to think, okay, this is a reasonable opportunity, and it's like actually then they will find out exactly how much they want that, and that's what's so surreal about this industry is it's the psychology of it is really tough to navigate through sometimes.
I think as a vendor, it's important to know when we come and ask for a price reduction or a price adjustment, it's not because we don't believe that your house is worth what we're trying to sell it for. What we're trying to do is get people through the door and make an offer so we can do what you've paid us to do, which is negotiate the price.
Yeah.
So if we can't get an offer, we've got nothing to talk about with an owner. We may as well not have it on the market.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you never have to accept an offer that you're not happy with. So there's no harm in taking our advice and adjusting the price to see what happens. Is the way I sort of try to explain it to my owners, because all I'm doing by asking you to drop the price is for me to go work harder for you to get the job done. All I'm doing is putting extra pressure on us as the agency to, get you the offer that you're happy with and whatever it takes basically. But if we can't get people into the home, we can't.
It's positioning.
Yeah.
There's this idea, if you've got a dartboard, you're either in the market or you're on the market or in the market. And like on the market is you can put any house in the market for any price you want. You're on it, but technically where the market is, which is the buyer pool, you're not in it, so you have to adjust to these, where they are.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
And I know
I've seen you play darts, so John, what happens if you miss the ball completely?
Just don't play darts with me, you'll lose an eye.
That's so true.
But even from a purchase perspective, when we are going back to buyers and saying, "Hey, are you still interested?" It's like, "Oh yeah," and then it's like, "Well, at what interest level are you at?" We are getting now people that are you could say trying it on, but just throwing in low offers, hoping some of it's going to stick. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes with purchases, you might have that, the uncle that goes, I really like it. Yeah, but you're just going really hard. Just don't give them anything. And it's not to say that they won't pay the asking price. It's just that they had another person over their shoulder saying, you need to come in hard first.
And that's the start of the process. And then you guys will get into work and be like, look, we've got an offer. I think we can get it a bit higher to where you guys want it, and we'll we'll do our due diligence to work on it.
Absolutely,
And it might
yeah.
start really low, but yeah.
Well, it's that thing where, instantly you get, I got asked by a buyer's agent, how would I handle negotiation? How do we handle it? Because we were talking, I asked them, it was investment seminar, look, how do you handle the negotiations? Now, there's two hats. Either you're buying for an investor or you might be buying for, a home buyer. So they're looking from two perspectives. And from the investment, he said, mate, I don't care. If the numbers, I play the game, I just throw offers until it hits within my strategy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So they're just going to throw, obviously they might have to make 50 offers to hit one, but they're getting a very good deal because they're, saving money in the purchase. And he said, well, how would we defend it? And from our perspective, it's really about the understanding of the real value of the asset. So it might be in a particular market, if we'll just use $600,000, for example, you're in a slower market, everyone's going a little bit harder. But Martin from our office had a great example of a property in Chapel Street where the owners were adamant of getting their 630, and it's taken him several offers, for a few months at this point. But finally, they found the right buyer who had gone to, 627, and he's just said, look, guys, just so you know, they're probably going to come back at 630. Let's have that discussion. And of course, they counted and got the price that the owners were, hoping to defend.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, like, we present clients to Martin. He's like, no, we're getting this price. So he was adamant as well that this house
This is the number.
that value.
Yep.
And he defended it. And still got a great result for him, but it takes a little bit of patience because I look at it that there's another line. It's like there's a price, there's a time, there's a price. And it's that if you
Heard that one. I reckon I can make a super cut of that one.
Yeah, and if you need it, if you need it sold within 7 days, okay, maybe defending your highest price is not a great idea. But if you've got 4 months to wait, well, we can wait.
Yep.
It's just you're going to have a little bit of patience. And why I like these markets, I suppose, because this is where we started, mate. Like, they are much more built on longer relationships that require a lot more finesse, and nuance. Like, you can't go, oh, that offer offended the owner, and then it's going to come back next. No. You've got to work. You've got to work. And that requires more phone calls, more follow-ups, because that buyer may have looked at that house 30 days ago, said, oh, what else you got? Doesn't like a thing. They realise nothing better's come along, and now they're ready to go again. But they needed the phone call. They won't call you back. So it's
100%. Yeah.
So from a buyer's look, this is a good market for you to try and secure a good deal. But just bear in mind that it's not always going to be as easy as you think. If you want to do like that investor, so in the end he had his numbers, but he knows he's going to have to put down 50 offers before he actually hits something,
Yeah, but he's obviously got his spreadsheet sorted out and he's just like, look, this fits into my bracket and all the numbers line up. It's like playing the stock exchange or something like that. Just like, I'm looking for
straight up numbers game.
Yeah.
No emotional attachment. Just if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll go next.
if there's a time and a place and there's a place, there's a time.
Yeah, that works.
That's what it was, wasn't it? Look, I had no idea what we were going to talk about today, and we've worked some gold into it. It's actually was way more intellectual than I'd planned. I was like, I'm going to talk about BMX. I'm going to talk about catching up with my friends.
Yeah.
I'm going to Barnbougle this weekend.
Actually, it's your turn. Well, I suppose finish on that, mate. You've got a good weekend planned.
Yeah, no, I've got the old the Dosa versus the rest of the world Barnbougle trip on this weekend. So it'll be like a Ryder Cup style. It'll be all the boys we went to school with and a few more just kind of up there away from the kids, which will be a bit nerve-wracking. They've been a bit unwell of late. So
how do you go? Like with a couple of days away, can you disconnect yet?
After a few beers, you can. But you feel bad for the partner that's stuck at home with them and they're causing. Pat's shaking his head.
I can disconnect the motor.
You're real easy now.
Don't have the door hitch on the way out. It gets easier.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Looking forward to it. So a few guys flying in from the mainland, and touch wood, it's been great weather every year that we've done it so far. Haven't had a bad one. So
and it's been a hard couple of weeks for you guys to take photos. So hopefully by this time the weekend ticks around, it's like, all right, sunshine lollipops.
Fingers crossed, baby. Fingers crossed.
Sunshine and lollipops.
Absolutely. All golf sticks in this golf clubs. Sunshine and golf clubs.
And on that note,
only time will tell. All right, beautiful. Thanks for joining us on the Property Pod. Good luck in Alice Springs. Hope Park has a good time bike riding.
We'll be good.
Awesome. Stay well, guys, and we'll be back next week for more Property Pod.
Until then,
Bye. You have been listening to The Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.